Must have made that. I don't reiterate things. I think it's she's like, I'm coming right out there.
Okay, 4 minutes after 5. Today, Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024, Select Board meeting is called to order. Public comments? Anybody with public comments or? Okay. Item 3, approval of meeting minutes, the April 9th and April 16th meetings. Leah, did you want to make a change, did I hear, to something?
There were a couple things. One was a change in the second paragraph of the first item about 3 members of the advisory board, changing it to discussing a municipal override.
This is from the April 16th meeting.
Right. And then there was,
Work in progress.
on the next page, the last paragraph, striking the last sentence,
Starting with
she reiterated, because I didn't actually say that.
Can you go back on the second paragraph thing?
Yep.
Okay, I'm lost here. What is it that you want to say?
I want to remove, where is it?
Do you want me to reread it?
3 members support asking for a municipal override. That wasn't correct. Asking should be struck and put discussing. Okay. And then striking the last sentence of the last paragraph on the second page. That goes into the third page.
The paragraph that starts, Vice Chair Basbian stated that we can find middle ground, so it ends with, she shared that in her opinion, picking and choosing what fund out of one pool of money breeds that.
Yeah.
Bad blood. So
Okay.
the next sentence is.
So can we get these approved with modifications?
Yep, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 9th, 2024 and April 16th, 2024 with the corrections as stated.
Second.
Second,
I seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Annual town meeting warrant. Jason, do you want to run through this with us, or how would you like to do this?
Sure. Have we all seen these, is my question. I've read them a few times already, so I don't want to waste.
No,
but
I've gone through it a few times myself.
Maybe a new one.
A new one, what?
Did you get the tennis court in there?
I think it's in here. Yep.
It's sort of broadly speaking, rather than going into each individual one, it's basically all CPA funds.
Yeah, it is mostly, yeah.
Housekeeping and.
Yeah, I think that's the emphasis that should be made very publicly aware, as these are funds that have been set aside and are designated for specific renovation, rehabilitation, and restoration type projects.
Yeah.
Because I think in a year where we are very short money, optically, some of these don't come off great, in my opinion.
However, to that point, it is CPA money, so the money has already been collected from a
Right.
surcharge. This is not affecting the tax rate of anybody.
It doesn't affect
It's not
our
costing
budget at
anybody.
all.
It doesn't affect the budget.
No.
It is money we already
It's
have.
in the kitty.
Right. And it is matched by the state. So this is the best tool that we have to be able to accomplish these things.
I hear you.
They wouldn't be
But I
done
just know,
otherwise. But I know what
The
you're
general
saying.
person at the Dunkin' Donuts line, that's really hard to understand.
Well, then it needs to be broken down even more simply for them to understand, because it's crucially important that they understand that it does not come off the budget. It is
This
not
is
increasing
procedural.
taxes. It is money they already have.
I mean, I get you, but Alan?
Yeah, when this comes up, I'm sure it will. It's important to point out that of the CPC funds, some is state money. And of course, people don't want to know about how much. And of course, we have ranged in match from 4 or 5 times when it was dollar for dollar to down to about 54 cents, or something like that. And I took the time to take the 18 years that we have been in this program. And from what I can figure, if you take the 18 years in whole, we have received 72 cents from the state for every dollar we have kicked in, which is not a bad return.
Right.
Because people may well say, well, you can't count on it, it bounces around. Yeah, but sometimes it's 1 for 1, sometimes it's less, but 72 cents on average.
So I think the question I've had standing in the line at Dunkin' Donuts is, do we have to have that 3% surcharge every year?
Yes.
And but no, you actually could vote it at a town meeting, because other towns have voted not to have the 3% surcharge, and you could save people on their tax bills that way.
And then we
That's the
don't
question I
have,
had.
right,
I hear you.
I hear you, that's the
Let's play
question.
devil's
that's being
advocate
asked.
here, because it's a fair ask of,
And it's gonna have to be discussed, because by having the 3% is what allows us to get the largest distribution from the state. And I mean, this is all things that we would not be able to afford otherwise.
Yeah.
And we are still trying to function as a town and do things for the town, and this is the best way that we can do it right now.
Yeah.
There are options for people, especially senior citizens can go in and apply every year to get a reduction of the CPA surcharge. There are options for that, for those that are struggling, but I think people are using.
and I support it, like, I'm not, that's not lost on me,
I know you're.
but these
I
are
know
like
you
the
are.
questions that, like, it's,
Yeah.
people, cause I think Groton got rid of it one year in order to save their residents on, I remember it was in one of Marlena's posts on a page. I think they got rid of it one year to save on the taxes in lieu of getting people to advocate for some other budgetary item. So, and I support it, and I think they're important. I was a part of the CPC for a couple of years, so I understand the value, just like the optics of it.
Well, and it needs to just be continually explained that it's,
Do we have a list of everything that has been funded with CPC money?
we can compile that.
It should be readily available.
Yeah, and there are things that many residents use.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean,
That should be in print somewhere and available.
Yeah,
So
That's on the CP3,
yeah, it's on the website. I mean, you can
yeah,
get that.
it
Yeah.
lists all that stuff,
Yeah,
or it does.
yeah,
Okay, and be able to know it yourselves and be able to refer people to it and maybe have a copy handy.
yeah, it's just that, again, I support it, but I just know like, these are the questions, like, in the year where we're talking about layoffs, we're gonna spend $1.1 million on a building that doesn't really have a use.
it's money that's already
I know.
spent out of their pocket, and
Yeah.
it's,
Or if a 3%.
and it's not money that we could then distribute to the general fund.
But it's 3% you could take off everyone's tax bill, and it may get them to pay more.
Well, it's a
in tax.
surcharge. It's not a tax. It's a surcharge of,
Yeah, but on a $10,000 tax bill, it's $300 less. And that may be the difference between getting an override passed and not. Because that's $300, that would have been only $450 increase for this coming year then. And then so on and so on. I don't know, it's an argument
no,
that
I mean,
should go
fair
before the
point, you bring it
residents.
up, absolutely. I mean, people are asking the questions. We just have to answer the questions.
Yeah. But and again, I think they're all like, I know the renovation of the wells at Leonard Field is critical. Everyone uses that field one way or the other, and
Yeah.
it needs water. Seeing the grass when it doesn't have it, so.
Yeah.
But it's just something to be prepared for at the town meeting.
So the Article 16 is that tennis court article. I don't know if you saw that in there or not.
Yeah,
Okay. And they are mostly CPC articles, and it's procedural more than anything else. I don't think we need to, unless, I mean, the invasive weed thing, we kind of do that every year, right? We do the weeds.
Every few years.
Every few years? I think it's.
yeah, well, this is a little bit, it's a different part of the pond and a different approach, so it's a little bit different. The same general concept of treating the weeds in the pond to continue to have its recreational use.
This is a chemical remediation that they're doing.
The last one was
Copper
too,
sulfate or something like that.
it's a different chemical, it's a different weed.
For Article 16, was that in the mission of the Larder family, or was there anything you have to be aware of that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No,
Like, 'cause sometimes.
I have
they
the
can put-
deed, it didn't,
There's no like whole big, like a tennis court's not a soccer field or.
What happened to building the pavilion at Lauderfield? I thought,
they withdrew that
Yeah.
application.
I think it's still on the list, just, this is a higher priority right now.
Yeah.
They didn't want to withdraw it, but,
They, yeah,
all of a sudden, Parks and Rec, I had a big wish list.
yeah,
And,
the wells came along.
basically told them that, you need to, how about we get the tennis courts built and some of this other stuff before we start worrying about that.
Yeah.
The pavilion at Martin.
We could put a couple of those little pop-up tents, because it is pretty hot out there.
Yeah, those work well. You
They
can put them
do.
away. You have a brand new shed. Use them.
Yeah,
That was my only question.
Do you want to just breeze through this, just for each one, or you guys, or we got?
I feel like we've covered them all, except for the municipal electrical aggregation that you were starting to look into. That was a new one.
Yeah.
Do we need to make a motion on the warrants, or do you want me to?
I have a question.
go ahead, Joni.
The last copy I saw, the last draft I saw, did not have any detail for the housekeeping article. For the, $40,000.
Oh, the distribution, yeah. Well, we don't know what, usually it's in the motion, not the article, right?
Yeah,
It's in the motion, yeah. So that will be in the motion. We don't know what the match is gonna be yet, right? It's hard, yeah.
pretty low.
So we might, I talked to the town accountant about that, and he said that if we don't know, we should just mirror. I know the match is not gonna be as much as it was for this fiscal year, from all signs point to that. But he suggested we just use the same numbers, and then if we have to modify it at some point, we can modify, or use up-to language or something like that, so. Yeah. But that would be in the motion.
Okay. Do you go to Karen's question? Do you need us to
Yeah,
motion this as approval?
Yeah, I see it here.
Yep, just approve and sponsor the relevant articles.
Okay. Yeah, maybe for this, last on CPC is like have a one-page PDF. Because I think we've had some really good ones on the town website that say like, this is what it is. To Leah's point, like why it's important.
It's already in work,
Cool.
I'm already working on it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
For all of them, for each one.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll move to approve the annual town meeting warrant and to sponsor articles 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 17, 18, and 19 on the warrant to be presented to the residents of the town of Dunstable at the annual town meeting on Monday, May 13th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I should probably save that date.
Okay, FY25 operating budget.
So this is, so we had a couple meetings about the 25 budget, operating budget after the override failed. So I think you all know what my recommendation was. So the question is whether we want to go with that recommendation, which was a combination of scenario, I'll call them scenario 2 and 3, or if we want to do something different or something in the middle, whatever. So what my recommendation does is it allows us to, thank you, reduce our lines of free cash to put us in a stronger position in future years to withstand the storm, so to speak, because we know in FY26, if the school numbers hold at what they're projecting, 9-ish%, we're going to be in a difficult scenario once again. So the more we can push off free cash, the more we can tighten our belts and have some ability to right-size some of our budget. Once we're able to pull off of free cash, then we're just going to be in a better situation long-term. And I think, it's a fair discussion moving forward. This is kind of outside this discussion, this decision, but moving forward, I think it is a fair discussion on, what are the growth numbers that we know we can withstand year over year and hold the line on the growth number, because that is the only way we're going to be able to balance year over year. So hold the line on the growth number. Anything beyond the growth number that we can actually afford is an override ask. And I think from we've talked about one of the goals of the select board this fiscal year, which we're probably not going to get to, sadly, but I think long-term, developing some financial policies that are in place that guide us through a budget process makes a lot of sense. The other benefit of reducing our reliance on free cash is that it increases our free cash balance starting, for future fiscal years. So if we're able to increase our free cash balance, then we can do things outside of the CPA, for instance, that we actually can have reserves that are legitimate, and we can actually have funds that can fund capital, because we do have capital needs right now, as we all know. So I think that's a lot, but I I guess my main point is, I think we need to be looking long-term at this problem because it is a long-term problem. The only way to deal with it is to cut or increase revenues. We tried to increase revenues, we weren't successful. Now, the alternative is to cut. I think cutting makes sense, unfortunately, from a financial standpoint, a budgetary standpoint. And again, if over time, if we're able to get off free cash as a revenue source for our budget, we'll be in a better position. But again, there's all sorts of things the board could do if they don't feel comfortable with that operationally, because there are certainly operational impacts to doing that. Mm-hmm. And I fully understand that. I just worry about the long-term sustainability of spending if we add back anything. That's my biggest concern. But I completely understand the perspective of, look, we need to add back certain items because operationally they're critical to the town. So those are the decisions we need to make tonight, so I can start putting a budget together for town meeting.
No big deal.
No.
All right, so we should be focusing on scenarios 2 and 3, just for the lay of the land here in front of us. And school budgets been identified.
Yeah, in scenario, yeah.
Okay, so we've given the school their
Yep.
the board has approved the assessment number for the schools.
Okay.
So now the question is, do we want to make the reductions listed in scenario 3? I will mention, just not that it's important, but this number will change by $1 because the assessment in schools, there was a rounding error with the assessment for the schools. So it's
$1?
increasing by $1, just FYI. But other than that, literally $1.
That was the dollar I wanted.
Where's that swear jar?
Sherry sent me a text, she's like, is it okay if this goes up $1?
Unforgivable.
I know.
So the scenario 3 reductions in the amount of $164,969, those are essentially the recommendations because the override failed. However, if you thought any of these were so important that they could not be cut, you can add them back and we'd increase free cash to pay for it. That's what we have to do.
Yeah, could you tell me what's library energy? Is that like utilities?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So one thought on free cash is, like, we don't have so much of it that it really matters. And I hate saying that. But like, what's the point of it? Like our reserve is $330,000. If we put $100K in, we only have $430, which is
It's
still
a starting point.
Our reserve is $300,000
for stabilization.
Stabilization, yeah, it's not our reserve. Our reserve's got like
You
30
need a
grand.
town meeting to pull it out.
From stabilization, you would, yeah.
So like, though I totally get the value and the purpose of putting money in there, like.
So what I'd say to that is it depends on how you're looking at it. So if you have a balance of, if you're disciplined and you end up having a balance of what we have essentially year over year in free cash, and you say, we put a policy in place that says every year we're going to put 10% of our free cash balance into stabilization. It adds up quick. And so if you're disciplined and you do it, and you, whatever the number, I'm using 10%, it could be 20%, sure. And you do that on an annual basis as a matter of policy. You don't even think about it. This is how we're using free cash, and this is how it's going to be done, period, end of story. Mm-hmm. The balance can be used for whatever we want, but this is how we're gonna use it. You'd be surprised. And don't forget too, like, if our side of the budget, the town side of the budget isn't so big that we need $3 million in reserve.
Yeah.
What we have now is certainly inadequate, there's no question about that, but, you know, our side of the budget is 4 million.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at it that way, because the regional school district has their own E&D, which they are responsible for and they control. So if you look at it that way and say, okay, we should have, what, 10, 12% of our
budget, of our municipal.
budget.
Right.
You can get there.
Yeah.
And then you can actually, I mean, we're talking about, I'll use this as an example, we're talking about fire station that was estimated at $250,000 worth of improvements. We can't even think about doing that right now.
Yeah.
There's no way, there's nothing. But if we have $1 million in free cash plus a healthy stabilization fund, guess what?
You can write the check.
We can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at it with the lens of it's gonna be, you know, who cares if we have 600 or 400 in free cash? I totally agree, who does care? But if you're being disciplined with how you're using it and you're actually putting them in places where they can make a difference, long-term, it really matters.
So then, so with that ideology, then like, do we know, can we forecast any capital expenses that are coming next year? And what we know is gonna be an even more dire budget situation than this year that we can get ahead of?
So in our cap,
Like if we knew we needed a police cruiser for next year, like, or a quad or an ATV, whatever it is, like, and like we know it's gonna cost 40K.
yeah, we treat them.
Should we be buying it as a capital this year? Because again, next year is gonna be, it's fundamentally gonna be worse than this year. Like, we already know that. And like to siphon away 125, 150K into stabilization, I don't know.
But it prevents having to ask for debt exclusions for things that we would need, which would then be bumping up people's tax bill. You know, it's just,
But we're not putting anything in stabilization. We're not doing that.
We haven't put money in stabilization in 10 years.
Right, I mean, I wish we
you put
were.
money
but
into
we're
a
not.
401K or a Roth IRA or.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, okay, it's the same concept.
I know it. Like, I get it. I just think we're running out of options in order to have people keep telling us to
But, I mean,
get lost in traffic with the voting no on things. So like, I'm trying to find ways to avoid doing that anymore.
I
It's
hear
not
you,
sustainable.
but,
Like,
we're setting ourselves up by doing this to be in a better position.
And then,
So that we wouldn't have to be asking for overrides and debt exclusion for things that we may need for capital if we have the buffer to be able to take care of them. We've been very lucky to have ARPA money that we were able to get some stuff with.
yeah,
If we had had money enough into stabilization, then, and the ARPA didn't happen, we would have been able to use that to do it. So,
yeah.
So we have, for 26, right now, we have projected $2.9 million capital needs. But don't forget, these aren't all funded through the levy. These are funded through a lot of the projects that we just went over through
Yeah.
the warrant with CPA. So, you know, the union building's on here. Right now, I have town hall HVAC unit because we were told that one of them needs to be replaced. Police cruiser, second phase of the police station window replacement project is on here.
is that a green communities thing, perhaps?
No, that's a capital ask this year
Oh, is it?
for 20,000, yeah. We have built, yeah.
What's that?
I can stick my finger through the wardrobe.
You can tell what the weather is. Beautiful.
We have building repairs in the fire station, although those, so, you know, we have done that. So we've projected a lot of the capital needs during Grass Brook.
Yeah, the
You know, we're hoping to do some, anyway, we've made some projections, but this is kind of a document that changes a lot over time. So some of these priorities will be pushed out. We'll get other opportunities to funding opportunities that maybe will push some of these closer, so this is a lot of these are just projections that will change based on priority and funding capability, really.
Yeah.
But we have projections out through 28, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to find ways to say yes to things. We don't have a lot of good, we don't have any growth, so like,
I mean,
magic 8 balls.
maybe I'm looking at it wrong, incorrectly, but I'm pretty optimistic about this. I mean, I think we are we're hitting this right now, but I think I think we're on a path to go back up. But it's gonna take like a couple of years of, okay, we gotta
do it,
grin and bear it.
Yeah.
And make, some tough disciplined decisions financially so that we can, rather than rely so heavily on this free cash number that isn't guaranteed year over year, and you kind of hold your fingers crossed that we're gonna generate enough to balance the next year. We're able to write that, and we're able to be thoughtful around how we use that money when we're able to increase the balance.
Yeah.
Because we will be able to, when we're able to increase that balance. I think, we'll be able to, like I said, find some room in the budget, hopefully, because we don't have to worry about free cash year over year. And we'll be able to start that process with a healthy free cash balance that we're able to
Leverage against it.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my one brain on the parade.
So what do you need from us? Eric, I'm sorry.
The police officer position, that's the 9th position, yeah?
Yeah, yes. You're not losing in the position, no. That's the
Surprise.
That's the restored position that would have been, yeah.
Well, I guess I'll jump in. And of this list of the scenario 3, the one thing that I would like to see brought back would be the per diem firefighter. Sorry, Chief. I mean, there was a fire today, and there was one guy.
2 fires.
2 fires,
Doing 0.
One guy.
One guy.
yeah,
I understand. We have a lot to do too.
yeah. Everything else on there, obviously they're important, but I think for a town safety aspect, this is one of the more important ones that's there. We can work that into the budget.
Would we draw on something else then on this list? Based on the amended number, would you turn highway down more than 20K for paving? Or like how would we get there, do you think? Or just find it?
I mean, what you could do is add it, and then rather than reducing free cash by 164,969, you're reducing free cash by whatever that list number is. Let me see. $118,145.
118.
145.
145.
So
I mean, as we've been operating, sorry. We were operating with the 2 per diems, but as we know and expected, that the donation that was given to support that second firefighter, we knew it was just
One and done.
one and done.
Mhm.
And certainly, even if that were to be offered again, and I've heard nothing to that nature at all, it's not something that I, again, would be entirely comfortable accepting again, because it's a really bad practice. It's,
Well, I mean, it's a bad practice financially, but in terms of giving away money like that, I guess it's pretty common to find that, but.
I know, but it's not, it's a legitimate position
It is, yeah.
that the town needs, and it should be solid in our budget. It shouldn't be coming from a philanthropist supporting an employee in the town. It just doesn't make sense to me. Not that I don't appreciate it, because it kept that person on for this year, but we're not getting that gift again, and that will put us actually down. So,
You okay with all that, bud?
I think I'd also say, like, again, we have, and this is me looking at the top one, town administrator training. And though I appreciate you trying to take a hit on your own budget, like, Jason is one of our full-time employees, and I think the training of that office is something that should be, like, I feel it should be fundamental in keeping that office stabilized. You know, because we can do a pretty easy equation to sort of see what the TA position is bringing into the town. And I think keeping our knife sharp here is a smart investment more than anything else. Like, and it shouldn't come out of his own pocket, you know, and stuff like that. But
would you looking to restore the full amount, or just change that 1,000 number?
yeah, like split, you know, make it 2,500, make it something to give. Again, because there are opportunities that TAs go and they collaborate amongst each other and they share ideas, and I don't want our own TA in our office in our town to miss out on those opportunities. And he is pretty resourceful, and he'd be able to find a way to spend the money. But
So now what does that do to us? We're going the wrong way.
You want to add back $1,500?
yeah,
I mean, I understand Karen's approach. Are there any of this training directly tied to any certifications that you have?
I mean, the one
Con Ed
certification,
hours, stuff like that?
the one certification that has expired, which I don't like, which I would like to get it back, is my MCPPO.
yeah, you should have that.
Yeah,
I want to get that.
Do we, all right, because do we need that? Don't we need that in the town?
You don't need it, you should have it.
Yeah.
You definitely should have it. And Sue went through the first, training as well.
Modules?
Yeah, but,
You should have that.
but,
Yeah.
but I would like to renew that. I mean, I can't renew it now because it's lapsed.
So you're gonna
I
start,
have to start over.
and would 2,500 work cover that?
Yeah,
And what's
And
the
for
cost
student
of
training
what's
too?
the cost of that on an annual, was it, that ticket, that license has got an
oh,
expense?
it's good,
to it.
it's good for 4, I think it's good for 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
And what's that fee?
For the train, it's,
No, for the license.
oh, no.
No? They don't give it, it's no hit?
No, it's just the training.
Once you complete the class,
It's just the training.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say there's 4 classes in there. I think there
Because there's also like the Small Town Administrators Association.
are 5.
We're not members of STAM. I don't know, we opted out of it years ago. I don't know that's his decision.
Yeah, I would advocate for making that 2,500 to support the MCPPO certification.
But after that, we're not gonna have any more ads, because already we're deficit spending.
Right, but then, you know, I look at highway paving, and I know those guys work very hard, but we reduced that budget from 67 to 47, which is 20K. Like,
but there is chapter money for them
right, so then like, could we bring it down even more to?
to reduce it, or to offset these. I
These
assume.
2 ads.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I like that idea.
You know,
What?
I wouldn't recommend it, but.
Why? Because you don't want to tell Mike Martin.
No, that's not. That's not.
Send him a text.
That's not why.
but there are years where that number was 35, like that, their paving number was 35K.
Yeah,
It's been down
couple
to
years.
25
Yeah,
at one point in time. We've built that back up.
We built it, yeah.
I mean, we peeled it back. We needed the revenue for other things. I get it. I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point in time, we didn't paint the stripes in the road for a year. Remember that one?
But everyone drove slower.
Well, they were on the wrong side of the road.
And you couldn't write a ticket because there was no line.
That's like that episode of
Mark
Seinfeld.
Lane
Like,
violation.
Kramer's driving
Where's
across
that?
the highway. These lanes are great.
It's like Kramer on Seinfeld.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, if you made that number, make it 67 to 40, so that's 7K back at us. I don't know.
Or even 45 and it covers the,
The trading.
I don't know,
We're
we're
just-
nickel-and-diming
I would
here.
just
We're rubbing rocks together.
I would, the quick work of it, I like, 116, 645. I would just do what Karen's saying. I mean, paving is not, the purchasing certification, in my opinion, were we to have a violation of chapter 149, they're gonna come look for that certification.
We're not going to have a violation.
I'm just saying, but they could,
Right, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, because you're significantly aware of 149 as well as I am, because I'm on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
But I think that most towns have a purchasing agent that is
Correct.
credentialed, okay?
Correct.
We don't, you're the guy, let's put some money into it, get your credentialing back and,
Yep.
and take it out of paving, because that credentialing is good for 4 years, right? So, and you got no reoccurring license fee, like my licenses, I gotta pay them every year. So you're free and clear to do that. And which, you got all those numbers worked out, we're not gonna add any more to it, let's just do that, Jason, so that we've at least got.
So add 1,500 to training to make it 2,500. Add this back, add the per diem back, and then reduce the 47,000 amended budget by an additional 15. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So that's 44.5 going into that paving budget then, right? Is that right? No.
No, a little less than that.
So, yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, okay. So that's so if you're doing that, it's 118, 145. So you're adding that 49, 46, 824. All right, so let's see the motion.
Maybe we can start selling the car washes out front.
Can. No, we can't because of the MS
So
wall.
I think there's a motion here
So
for
we
that.
are,
All right, there's no page on it, but
I got rid of that.
you got it there, bud? All right, so we're just gonna change around our numbers,
slogging
right?
through, getting compliant.
So we're gonna
Once the wells are working at large fields.
Is there a motion we need to read for this? or-
Yeah, we're just fixing the numbers.
just doing that. So the number.
I have,
Joni, go
I
ahead.
apologize. I've been, we're not paying close attention. I thought we were doing scenario 2.
We are, but we're making a couple of modifications to it.
We're doing a combination of scenario 2 and scenario
A little
3.
bit out of scenario 3.
Okay, so we're not going to the town meeting with with a choice, we're just, we're just saying,
This is what it is.
this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you,
So the total amount, if you add back the 46 for the per diem,
yeah.
is $13,107,747.
Okay, so that 13,060 number will change to be 13,107,747.
Any change?
No, 35 cents.
Okay.
So I'll read a motion, or I'll make a motion to approve the town of Dunstable.
Do you have the motion there? Right, because there's some other verbiage here.
It's on the back of that, yeah.
That's right, want mine?
Should be tabbed.
I lost my number now.
That's what I
It's right in the front page. It's right in the front page of this. There you go, right there.
Move,
Do you have the modified number?
move to recommend the town's fiscal year 2025 operating budget with a total expenditure of $13,107,747,000, funding the Groton Dunstable Regional School District at an assessment of $7,962,157 to be presented to the residents of the town of Dunstable at the annual town meeting. Should be Monday, May 13th, 2024. That says Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, it's Monday, thank you.
Is that actually the 13th? Yeah, okay. Second, with that,
All in favor? Aye. Okay, Ben?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so our operating budget, municipal electricity aggregation.
Very
Do you
briefly.
need us to, do you need town meeting to approve that?
Yeah, so it is on the warrant, very, very briefly. I think, I don't know, first 3 months of me being here, this was discussed when National Grid rates went through the roof. And we talked at that point, the board talked at that point about options to help. And one option was this municipal aggregation program. And, oh gosh, I don't know, for the last several months, I've been chasing consultants. There's a small group of consultants that does work on this. And so, I don't want to go through the whole thing. There's a small group of consultants that does work and helps communities go through this program. Essentially, in a nutshell, what it does, it kind of harnesses the purchasing power of your community.
Yeah.
It's all, so it allows you to bulk purchase and I don't know, like 170-ish communities in the Commonwealth on this. Generally speaking, with very positive results in terms of saving customers money, and also providing for some renewable kind of green options that people like. That's a requirement of the program. But essentially what it does is National Grid is still gonna supply and deliver the electricity. It just allows communities to bid the source of where the electricity is coming from, ideally at a lower price and a more stable price. So in order for us to even look at this and pursue it, town meeting has to authorize us to do so. So that's the first step. And there is an article on the warrant.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was just approved to do that. I've finally gotten in touch with a consultant who is interested in working in the town of Dunstable. There were a couple that I reached out to that weren't because of our size. It's obviously a small community.
Mm-hmm.
So financially, it's just not as attractive as some of the large communities. But this consultant has been great. We've discussed this now 3 or 4 times. He actually provided these slides for me just as, so I figured I'd share them with you as kind of background. And the only variance, I guess, with the consultant is he's kind of expressed that in order to make this worthwhile on the consultant side.
Yeah.
They get paid at the back end. It's kind of their kind of at their own risk initially until you enter into a source contract, and then they get paid whatever per kilowatt hour or whatever. Typically, I'm not sure what the base rate is, but there is a base rate for these type of services for a community of our size. In order for it to make it worthwhile for them, they're going to have to increase the base rate basically in order to do work here. So as long as residents are saving money, that's okay with that. In my opinion, I guess that's okay with me, as long as residents at the end are going to save money on it. So that's the deal. The consultant I talked to has been and is working with the town of Pepperell right now, and has been working with them for the last 2 years. I reached out to Pepperell to get a sense of what their experience has been with this consultant. It was very positive. The feedback was very positive. So that made me feel good about it. And we're not tied to do anything. I mean, if we go through the whole process and we bid it out and we look at the rates and we say that doesn't make sense to do, or it's not as attractive as we thought it was going to be, we're not committed to anything.
Yeah.
All this vote, all the town meeting vote is to allow us to look at it and pursue it. At any point, at any time, we can decide not to move forward.
It's an exploratory request, right?
Yes.
I mean, my only comment about this is that, and some of you may know this, but there was an aggregation company known as Enron.
Is that what they did?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
and I was heavily involved in a couple of deals with them, and it hurts.
It's not used then.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just want to be careful that,
Yeah.
that we not get I mean, if the town hall electric bill is going to come in and the town hall electric bill is being paid to the aggregator, I would start to get fuzzy over that, because that's exactly how we get into this with Enron. We were paying bills to Enron, and Enron was paying transmission, distribution, and generation and taxes, right? That's all. And what they were doing is putting the money in the bank and forgetting about paying the bills. And it got into well over $1 billion in claims, right? I'd just be cautious with that, because that, in my own personal career, that is still, I could still wake up at night thinking about how the problems we had trying to get utilities from not being turned off to a 40-story office building. Yeah. And so I'm always kind of saying, okay, watch out for that.
Yeah.
And so that's all. But I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think
You
it's
might as well find out.
absolutely
And I
worth
think it's
looking
good for the
into.
townspeople. Pepperell, I knew Pepperell was working on it, because I talked to a bunch of people in Pepperell. And if this guy is the same guy, that you're right, and I think he was or is involved with Westford, or Westford's considering taking him on board.
Westford has the program in place.
Do they already have in place? Okay.
Actually, I reached out to the folks who did Westford, and
I don't think we're big enough for.
they weren't. They actually, you know what? In fairness, though, they referred me to this person who I'm working with now. So,
Okay, well, I think it's a great thing for us
It's a good
to, at
story.
least to dig into
Right,
it.
so we need positive
It is a
stories.
good story.
it's a way that
It's one more
absolutely
way
a
we
good
can help
story.
residents save
Yeah,
money.
it's a way that and people feeling it on the tax bill, obviously, and we've heard what they think about that. So this is a way that we can help offset costs in another way, really.
Yeah.
Outside of the tax bill that we receive. So ideally, I mean, it's a process. It takes time. I was told that Pepperell is close to 2 years into this, and they haven't even put out the RFP yet. So it's a process. It takes time. It's heavily regulated at the state level. So it's going to take time to do it, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's worthwhile if it can save folks some money.
It's an opt-out program.
It's an opt-out program, yes.
Okay.
Cool. Look forward to discussing that tonight.
Yeah,
Do you need, since it's in the town meeting warrant, you don't need us to,
No.
tonight to do anything.
Question,
Yeah, Joni?
is Rock Electric not interested in that?
So I can tell you Groton is a municipal, and municipal electric companies don't participate in energy rebates. So if you wanted to put like a heat pump in Dunstable, National Grid will give you, money to put that heat pump in based on the energy rating. The utilities, the municipal utilities, none of them do that. Not Groton, not Littleton, not Wakefield, not Reading, not Peabody, none of them do. They're all munis. But their electric bills are substantially less than, what you would get out of National Grid. And so they look at it, and it's like the high school, right? The high school could use a lighting renovation, but Groton Electric's, they're not gonna pay for that. None of them do that. The meat and potatoes behind it is they're consumer owned. Groton Electric is owned by the taxpayers in Groton.
so I
And they don't
guess, is Dunstable sign up for that?
Ron, Michael would love to take and sell all the utility to Groton, but Groton, there's state regulation, because I think it'd be a good thing for us. And Groton Electric Light would provide power to the town of Dunstable, just like, my daughter lives in Linfield and it's Peabody Municipal Light. And so you could, it would take a lot of state regulation to make that work. I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of the upside on that, but I would love it. We could take the poles, the transformers, the wire and sell it to Groton, and Dunstable would become a Groton Light customer. And that would, in my mind, would be sweet. But it's not the way it is.
Yeah, they may not want it.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Item 7, we're gonna move on here, if we don't have anything else. Item 7, or number 7, is to, letter of agreement, Dunstable Police Union holiday and personal buyback.
We did this
Yep.
same thing last year.
We didn't do it for personal days.
We did,
You sure?
100%.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, I don't remember. I'm trying to think back to negotiations about like, the usage of personal days, but if we did it last year, I guess the precedence would say.
We did, it doesn't, we don't, it's up to the board, but we did for this fiscal, I guess, right? We did allow both holiday and personal buyback. And, I know we know the reason, and Chief's here too, but.
Yeah, I know
We
why.
know the reasons,
Yeah,
but.
it's not a surprise.
Yeah, we also got a couple of guys that are coming up on, whatever they call it. They're reaching a point where they're gonna get another week, but they're getting it so close to the end of the fiscal that they'll never be able to use it in time, so.
Yeah.
So is this something we have to do every year, or is this going to set this as a standard going forward?
We don't have to, no, we don't have to.
Every year we would vote on it.
Yeah.
You would, yeah.
It's for that fiscal year.
For that
because
fiscal year only.
It's the liability we're carrying in the PTO. And it would be a real deterrent to morale if we said we're not going to compensate them for their 10 days they weren't able to take vacation because they're short-staffed.
And really.
We're saving, at the end of the day, we're saving.
You're not double OTing someone.
Yeah.
They're paying it out at straight time, whereas if they took it off.
Right.
So.
It's one of those win-win, it makes sense on both sides.
Yeah, no, it's fine with me.
Personal days are just like tricky because I know like the corporate world or even in higher education, personal days are like the first ones you should use as you take off. I know they're so busy and so down, short staffed that they can't, but these personal days really shouldn't be paid out.
No, they want you to take them. And my boss would get cranky at me if we had personal days accrued.
Right.
She would.
But we did it last year and those guys are working their butts off anyway, so.
Yeah.
Most of it's vacation for the guys that have been here a while, that have 4 or 5 weeks vacation.
Can't use it.
Yeah. It's too expensive to take the time off.
I will move to authorize the chair of the select board to sign a side letter of agreement related to holiday and personal buyback with the town's police union, NEPBA Local 7 as presented.
That includes vacation.
Bank holiday and personal days.
I'm sorry.
Holiday and personal days, vacation is not in the, do we need to add that, right? So we're gonna modify the motion to include,
I will put the word accrued vacation. Let me reread that. I'll move to authorize the chair of the select board to sign to sign a side letter of agreement related to accrued vacation, holiday, and personal time with buyback by the town for the town's police union, New England PBA, Local 7 as presented.
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, chugging along, town administrators report. Probably nothing on that.
Wow.
Do you like that? He's sitting there, he didn't even make a frown or anything.
Just nodded.
Right, so I'll be quick. You know about the town hall boiler issue that we're dealing with now, so. Once again leaked into the office space, which is awesome, so we're trying to fix that now. Had a kickoff meeting with Boyle and Tanner on, for Joint Crest Brook culvert replacement. We're gonna organize an internal kickoff with staff and beginning of May. Talked about the CPA projects, fire chief vehicle, we're hoping within the next month or two, they'll have the new vehicle. Select board newsletter, I think it's in good shape to go. The only question now, unless there's additional comments or feedback.
No, I thought I looked good.
On the select board letter,
Thumbs up. I added a turtle.
I know.
the only thing we might consider,
I know, it's good.
the only thing we might consider goes back to what Alan was talking about, which is some sort of correspondence that relates to the use of CPC funds. I don't know whether we can include that in there, because Alan's right, that potentially someone will raise their hand and go, oh, what have we done? What's it for? How does it work? I don't know, Jason, whether or not we can add some sort of brief narrative in there, and don't get overly wordy with it, because people will get blurry-eyed over it.
Basic workings of it.
Yeah, is what it is. Here's how long we've been in it. This is what we've done. Union, some of the projects that are in the future, some of the ones we've just completed.
We have the project, at least for this warrant, we have the projects listed in the newsletter.
Yeah, they're already there.
Or a QR code to the site that these guys were talking about. Because we're gonna print them out, right?
Well, yeah, that's our next discussion too.
Yeah.
What, the QR code?
No, the printing.
Whether this becomes the standard.
You could do a handout from the database, the CPP database that lists all the projects that, that'd be a few pages.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find that. I can work with you on this a little bit, Jason.
I'm not sure if you can get on there or not, but let me know if we can.
Okay. I feel like it is just on there where you can access.
It's possible that there's just a way to
Yeah.
get on there, but the database, I have to sign in
Oh, okay.
to the database when I put in the projects for.
Yeah, okay. All right, if I
For
can't.
that year, but there may be some other type of way to
Okay,
access, each town's,
right. Accomplishments.
right.
Yeah, and stress somehow how much of this is state money.
Yeah, the match, right? And why that 3% is so significant, and because it allows us to collect that on the rebound from the state. So I think we might want to just put something in there and fluff and buff it up so that we're at least prepared. It's not necessarily just a burden on the taxpayer. There is a kickback from the state, which is driven by our percentage, right? That's how.
Correct.
And so, we've gotten, I don't have these numbers in my head, but we've gotten some pretty good money out of that kickback from the state,
We have,
right?
and we've done a lot of good stuff with it.
Pushing $1 million.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
There's 2.5 million in the CPA account. Now that includes everything, everything has been voted, and, between, of course, there's, I don't know, half and half, would you say 70-something% coming from the state? So a good portion of that is from the state, but, that's all told what's currently tied up with projects and not tied up.
Yeah, so I'd just be careful with some of that, because when you put the $2.5 million number up there.
People looking up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to be specific. For example,
How much of it is
the
town and.
high-speed conservation restriction proposal, which would be taking 296 or 294, I think it is, something like that from CPC. 42% of that would be state money. 58%. In other words, 123,000 will be state money, not counting the 58% self-help land,
Right.
that we always
Right.
say, if you don't get that, it's dead. But of the CPC, 123 would be state money, 171 would be town money. So between the state self-help and the state CPC contribution, you're left with 171 of Dunstable tax for that 53-acre conservation restriction.
Good deal.
Looks pretty good when you look at it that way.
That's all I would do, is just
I'll try to-
spend some time and try to socialize that a little bit in there. But I wouldn't put too much information, because it'll go.
Well, we can rearrange a few things. So the next thing is, do we want to do the printing of it and mail to every household again? Personally, I think it's a good idea. I think people appreciate it.
What was the quote?
308
So
for the printing, yeah.
for color or black and white, do you know? Because I got,
Color.
It's going to be color, that's what he did the last time, yeah.
I inadvertently got an invoice from DS Graphics for DRLT for their last newsletter that they sent out, which was black and white, and it was $174 for 2,500 copies.
Yeah.
So,
It was done a little differently,
oh,
so I set that up.
yeah, I just wanted to know, just.
So if it's $308 a quarter, that includes the mailing, right?
No,
That's all.
mailing
No,
is
that's
like
printing.
270.
Almost $600.
Yeah.
A quarter, so it's $2,500 a year, I would say.
It's what, I mean, at this point,
It's working.
It is, absolutely it's working. You definitely can gauge that by talking to different people who say, well, I read it and,
It's half the battle.
it is half the battle.
I think it's worth doing.
I guess.
Again, I'm happy to pay for it, contribute paying for it. It's important enough to me to do that.
Yeah, I don't want to be here writing checks to pay this out every
I hear ya.
quarter either. Just,
Say,
I mean, I like to see that we have funds to push this out that way.
If you want to do it, we'll do it.
That's all. I think it's important. I like the communication level. People, the next thing we could do is just go to people's houses, sit with them and read it. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
I'll take first
watch.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's not as though someone can say to you, well, when were you going to tell us this and that? we're not, even the chat that's going around through some of the sites, we're not getting that stone thrown at us in the last few months. So that's my gauge of it. And there absolutely have been some people that have said, oh, no, when are you going to tell us that? That's what I wanted to say. Well, I'll get it next month and come and sit in your house. We'll read and we'll go through it with them one-on-one. But I can't.
Story time at the library.
Yeah, something like that.
Library.
Story time. So the efficacy is pretty good, I think.
Bandstand.
Yeah. Is that a loudspeaker?
Tea time at the bandstand
Oh, yeah.
and the town newsletter.
So interesting.
It's only shot at all.
Yeah, it's,
How much is in the reserve fund?
Yeah.
Is there still 30 in there? We tapped it.
No, it's not 30, but there's.
So you could,
Good now.
we could take a transfer from reserve to pay for this. It's not like we don't have any money.
Yeah.
And the budgets are running pretty good right now based on what she pushed out
No, they
last
are.
week, right? So I don't anticipate hits
Yeah.
into that reserve fund because those budgets are performing on their own without needing anything. I just ask.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna need some year-end transfers to true up some lines, so. Yeah, okay, sounds good.
All right, so I'll work with you on writing something up with that.
CPC.
And then we can push this out, hopefully by the end of the week.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
All right, tennis courts, we got 2 bids. The low bid was from Longo Landscaping, $300,875. So that is one of the articles on the warrant for supplemental funding. In
For
order
the
to move-
CPC, it's CPC.
CPC funds in order to move forward with that.
So let me ask this question, because you went for an RFP,
I do.
right?
Yep.
And Longo's at 300K. You had other bidders?
We had one, another one,
Who was it?
Belco Landscaping,
No.
$489,000.
489, so he's way out, but is this gonna be a performance and payment bond
What,
or a labor materials bond?
I think I'm pretty sure there's just a performance.
And does Tony Longo know that?
Yes. Wait a second, let me just.
This is for 2 tennis courts at Larder Field.
3.
3? Even though the usage of the other ones is fundamentally low. Like,
I don't know that.
Parks and
I think
Rec.
tennis courts, 6 pickleball courts.
I hear you, but like, people work till 5 p.m. most days, and you're left with 2 hours of sunlight for 2 months out of the year for people to use tennis courts. And we're gonna spend $300,000 on something people.
Well, there's already been money voted by the town to go towards this project. So they're already expecting, yeah.
I know, it's just like, and we still have the ones over here that are falling apart, right? Because those didn't get ripped up.
They didn't get ripped up.
No.
I've never seen anybody use those.
Neither have I.
Well,
mean,
they
the
were
kids
thinking
use
of
them.
maybe using it for a deck hockey place.
They use it in the summertime, it's freaking winter. Give me a break. You know? People use it in the summertime, but it's,
People don't use the softball fields, we spend money.
This will be much more convenient.
I suspect more people will be using the tennis courts at Larder Field because of the ease and the convenience and accessibility. Well, last time I played tennis, I ended up having surgery on my knee. It's really not my game, but.
Why is that just like?
All right, Alan. I will
Yeah,
feed you.
I want to see him there.
I challenge you to a duel of tennis
There's a
at the new
50%
court.
payment.
Yeah,
Does he know that?
50% payment.
pickleball.
Does he know?
all over the.
Pickleball's fun, but like,
It's all over the bit.
Just,
I think there'll be more use. If it's put in a place where you can actually go and park,
I'm gonna tell you.
not walk half a mile to get
I
to it.
understand,
Yeah.
I'm talking with him, he understands.
I understand.
That bond is $50, $1,000.
nobody, we spent all this money on softball fields.
I get you,
Nobody
I
uses
get you. but he can.
It's a waste of money. We're better off doing a
He's
wildflower.
gonna red flag that.
You do that too.
Oh, no, we work in the town all the time. You guys will be all right. He's gonna try and get around that. You
I know,
understand.
then you're left with
In
2
order
hours
get
to
that
use it at
bond,
the
you
end of
gotta
the
have
day.
financials,
You're 5 p.m.
Aetna casualty or Liberty Mutual, someone's gonna write on for that.
I think
I don't know that he's got that.
But like, I'm just telling you.
I know him extremely well.
You know, there's.
It's a mecca over there. It's a-
I would just kind of like, you know about this, right?
You know, and that are being used, and, but nobody's gonna use ours, so, Jesus.
He's a constable.
They don't get used
He
at the high
grew up
school.
around here.
And like, I know this, one of the private schools is working on theirs because they don't have a tennis, nobody on the tennis team. Like, I'm just like,
That's all.
Well, pickleball is hugely
money.
popular.
Coach him on.
we're just, I mean,
Again, this is.
I know it is,
money.
but like, it looks, people are,
Well, then people need to understand CPC because they're different things.
I hear you, but like.
Yeah.
Could we use it for restoring historic roadways? CPC money.
Use it for what?
Restoring historic roadways.
What are those?
Start roadways?
How
What
you
exactly would
restore
that
his-
be?
Well, let's find some creative.
Restoring historic roadways would be ripping up the pavement and making them dirt cart paths.
Let's do that. That's probably better than what they are right now. Like,
I like my cobble roads.
like, just,
I'll give you Stuart's number, you can talk.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and people aren't necessarily happy with the way the state is using its money in like this rainy day fund, whatever, I can get into it.
Hey, this is money that,
No, it's just like, it's like,
that
it's
we're
silly,
being
like,
given.
such a waste of.
Okay, it's a deal, okay? You can't play the ponies, you know, you can't, you can't put your money in a bank and get 50% return. You know, it's a deal, and these are all projects that benefit the town and benefit everybody in the town. So, yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be some people who are not gonna be happy because, we can't spend the money on, education. But you can't have it all.
Could we spend on history classes? History, no, government.
Restore some textbooks.
Okay, so you're gonna move along here with your EV charging thing? Whatever's next.
We have an RFP for electric vehicle charging stations that's out at the town of Pepperell. It was a site visit, I think last week, which had a huge turnout.
Yeah, that one's cool. It's a good idea, so.
I think 15 people showed up.
Yeah.
Proposal is due May 9th, so we'll see how that goes. That's being paid for as well by a state earmark.
Yeah.
So that's not local funds.
Are we putting in 2?
Where is it?
It's like right over there, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Away from the spaces.
I worked with both Ann Davis and Carol Bacon. I met with them. And they kind of selected
Okay.
with the best location for them.
Yeah.
So we're good there as well. Police station floor is complete. We had a growth mindset training last week, which was great. I thought Maya provides those free of charge. We've engaged the Division of Local Services on the DOR to help us kind of build the organization for the regional treasurer collector. So they have come in. Andrew's working closely with them now on just everything from better defining the structure, better defining staff roles, better defining schedules, and all of that. It's going well, but I think it's a lot for one person, and Andrew's doing a great job, but he's new to a role like this, so
Yeah.
taking on 2 communities is a lot. So I'm excited to have DLS
Oh, good. That's great.
as a resource for Andrew to kind of help him make sure kind of long-term operational success for the office. Sue submitted a grant application with Mass Cultural Council for $2,500 to fund. through the 350th process, we saw a lot of interest in the events and activities that they organize. So we put in a grant for, to have kind of a block party type of event in this area. So we'll see if we get it, but if we do, that could be lots of fun.
Yeah.
And,
I put money in there for the detail, that's what the 25.
Ah, nice.
Music to your ears.
And just FYI, we're coordinating a walkthrough now for annual town meeting across the street. We're looking at the cafeteria potentially to have the meeting rather than the gym. The schools have kind of been encouraging us for since I've been here at least to look at the caf because it's better outfitted with technology. And they seem to think that it can fit about the same amount of people, I think a little less, but so anyway, just FYI, that's happening and where
They have a proper screen and not
like a
and
real,
not a square made out of
yeah,
duct tape.
a real
on the
screen,
wall.
yeah, that's one of the reasons I think. And I think the sound is better too.
Usually for the performances, it's pretty good, so it's like, it's the right setup, but.
Yeah, so we'll see, just FYI, and that's it.
I had a couple of things on topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. So if you know of anybody who would be able to help with Memorial Day planning and like assistance with that group, we're pretty low on numbers. And there's not a huge budget, but we're just sort of myself, Joe Dean, Pete Everhart, and I think John Crandall was going to help a little bit, and so was John Callahan, but sort of kind of running on fumes for that group. So if you know any veterans or anybody who's interested, have them get in touch with Joe Dean. And again, if you know any veterans to come and be present that day would really be useful because we had like 7 or 8 last year. It was a really nice day, but it's sort of getting tough to pull on people to come and attend that day. But I think the town puts on a pretty good parade. The other one was, should we be having a candidates night? Because we have a couple chairs, a couple seats up for competition, right?
Just one.
Just one? But not the constable's one, or was that?
No, that's two.
That's 2, okay.
So John Gallion stopped in Monday. I don't know, Jason, if he had a chance to speak with you, but he was going to be reaching out to Raph and Christina to see if there was an appetite to do that, to do a candidates night. He asked if they could do it here versus the library. So I told him I'd help him with that, whatever he needs. So he's gonna get back to me.
Okay, cool. And then we haven't heard anything on the cell tower, right? We're just sort of waiting on that.
I was kind of waiting on, just so I didn't have 2 at the same time. I was waiting for tennis courts to, so tennis courts was just, was due last Monday.
Okay.
We'll get that.
Yeah.
Water tower?
Yeah, I saw the thing get thrown out.
Yeah,
I was
we'll
like,
get that out.
Yeah, okay.
And someone asked me about the blue bins. Do we have to revisit that one at some point?
No, she's gonna have them moved.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then is there anything we should be aware of? I know there's been some emails about the Brattle project. Is that like a next meeting?
It's not scheduled for anything right now.
Scheduled for anything?
I just didn't know where we were. I haven't checked my email today, so.
I mean, that move is on Brattle right now.
Well, so they've sent us, which I sent out a revised, well, not a revised,
They redacted something.
a version of an LDA. So the question is, how do we want to move forward from here? Really?
So if it's in our ballpark, I guess we should.
Theirs, no. I mean,
Well, we have it though, right?
Yeah.
So we have to review it and then
Yeah.
sign or say sayonara, one or the other.
or revise.
Is he asked to come and, I mean,
Just today.
he asked today. I mean, I think we want to have an open discussion with them, because at this point, that package that we got was sent to us, but it's not available for public consumption yet.
Well, I mean,
people who may want to see it.
Oh, yeah, I mean, well.
Is it on our website?
No, what, the draft LDA?
Yeah,
No, but I mean, it's public record, I have it, so.
We should have our ducks in a row in terms of what we want out of it before, I mean, in part of the evolution that it gets to online sort of public appetite. It should be the select board advocated for X, Y, Z, right? And then public, give us your feedback. Or I'm not sure, I can't remember the whole process we had laid out, but.
I'm not sure where the public has
Say, really.
say.
Right?
I mean, of course, they need to be, they can know what's going on, but there's not a point where the public votes on this.
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean, it's public record, but the public is not involved in the decision process, really.
well, I mean, in as much as, I mean, there was a 60-day process where there were multiple public meetings and
Right.
public hearings to hear from people.
Right,
To
right.
help shape the ultimate, recommendations for an LDA.
Yeah.
And provide feedback to the developer and kind of those venues. And we've received feedback from individual boards and committees
Yeah.
as requested, so we have that. And so, in that way, they had opportunity to kind of, provide that feedback, which I think was kind of intentional from the board and I think worked out. And following the last meeting, the board discussed this. The idea was that the town administrator's office and the proponents of the project would kind of at least start that process of, okay, what's the framework of an agreement? What might that look like for then the board to consider and review and consider? And so with that process kind of happened.
Okay.
I initially sent out and these are just, these are my ideas, so it's got to be fully vetted.
Yeah.
But I sent out a framework for an agreement, and they reviewed it and responded a couple weeks ago now, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm
I
trying
think
to
it's
think.
been about 2 weeks.
Yeah, probably around there, I think. And so we have something back from them now as a response, which incorporates most, but not all of what I sent them, so.
But we haven't discussed what
No.
we want as a board at all,
Correct.
so.
Right. So maybe we
let's
take that as.
get on our next
What
agenda.
they
try
agreed
get-
to, and then we sort of roll it all up and see where it goes.
And I don't know whether that should be an executive session or not.
You can negotiate with them in executive session, but if you want to have a strategy session on negotiating with them, I believe that's permissible, but I would want to check on that just to make sure, but I believe that would be permissible.
Let's find out that is, I think your understanding is mine as well, that we need to discuss our strategies, and that would be an executive session. So I think we need to sit and have that discussion and get this thing off the dime and moving forward, because it's been, and what happens is when you put distance between it, people forget.
Yep.
And time, I worry about the time, because I think we wrote that policy or that guide parameters, and we're like, oh, as soon as we pass that 60 days, we don't make it, it doesn't hurt us, but it's just we kind of wrote it and then
Well, that was for them to be able to
follow it through.
and meet with all departments. So it's not like there's a penalty on either.
Yeah.
No, but
and they did it and they provided it, and then essentially it's been up to them at this point.
Yeah, the next step, the step after that process was let's start to engage in discussions on an LDA, which we did.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think it was 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, we got a draft back from them.
Okay.
So it hasn't been us. I'm not saying anyone's been dragging their feet. I don't think that's the case, but it's not like we on our end haven't dropped the ball on anything.
We've been busy. The town's had a lot going on, so I totally get that.
But it's also, what they haven't been really speedy on.
Yeah, they were hot,
LDA
cold,
part
hot, cold,
either,
but maybe it's just next time we strategize a bit about it and
Yeah.
see what we think, so.
Yep.
It's as exciting as the blue bins, so.
Where do the blue bins go?
Highway garage. Actually on where Joe Dean used to park his car out there, not really at the
Outside the
highway
fence,
garage.
on the right side,
Yeah.
facing it, yeah.
Yeah, facing the street, they're gonna be parallel to the street and the veterans office, right, that was right
Where the
there.
school bus parks.
No, not back there, a little closer to the street.
Okay.
And the guy that owns those, he's gonna be responsible for moving them. He doesn't, I was gonna have Tully do it with the loader, but the guy wants to do his own thing, so I think that's gonna happen the next couple of weeks.
They're gonna put a sign up saying where they've been relocated to.
We haven't talked that through yet, but
People use them.
They do,
People use them a lot.
yeah.
Good to throw things away. Or
It should
recycle
be.
properly.
Yeah,
We can put some sandwich board sign up there.
Yeah.
saying,
where they are, where to go.
I'll make
We
a
have
motion
several
to-
sandwich boards in the basement down there.
Oh, there's plenty of them.
Yeah.
I love those things, yeah. Motion to adjourn?
Sue's favorite.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Any word on the project behind the post office?